Noel Nation, welcome into another episode of the Renegade Rundown. As always, yours truly, George from the Renegade Report, the Renegade Rundown, all the above, and my beautiful co-host, Jen Santee, aka at Jen Santee 1890. You can find her on X and everywhere else. How are we doing today, Jen?
Doing good, doing good. It's Sunday, so Sunday fun day. Happy day, everybody.
Absolutely. Sunday fun day. It has been my day of rest. We usually do this thing a little bit earlier. It just seems like could not get going. Everything kept coming up. Like I was running a fever a little bit earlier today. Jen's been running around like a chicken with her head cut off, taking care of errands, but we made it. We made it here to cut up with you guys. And it appears that, we've kind of hit that peak of talking season. Um, you know,
Mhm.
Luckily, we have this Florida State ACC Big 10 case that we get to talk about with you guys every show. There's constantly, things happen with that, but a lot of, especially national guys, have gone to just kind of previewing and talking about different players and things like that. Um, and some of these opinions and things about Florida State and where they're going, and especially DJU, really caught my opinion. So we got a little clip loaded up from our friends over at Crane and Company. Our buddy Jake's been on the show a couple times. It's all in fun and games. We love their shows, but and we'll get to that in a little bit. But they gave a take on DJU that is just I thought was just absolutely flagrant. If you follow the NBA, it's a flagrant one. It's like it doesn't get much worse than the kind of comparison they put on us. Pretty ridiculous. I'm not sure if you caught that one. Did you catch that, Jen?
Well, my YouTube was messed up. I had to re-download the app, so I haven't finished it. I kind of started it, but I have not gotten to finish it just yet because I literally just got done with everything I was supposed to be doing.
Oh, well, alrighty
You know.
then. Well, I'll tell you what, let's just go ahead and play it. We're going to play you guys
Yeah, you
this
can let me hear
60.
it.
It's actually only, they only talked about GJ for a few minutes there, but it's pretty ridiculous when you hear, and I guess if you've seen the thumbnail, you got an idea of who they compared him to. But this is what we're going to start it off with. We're going to listen to our buddies Jake, and he had Tom Luganbell on the show, and their kind of assessment of DJU coming in and what he's going to be for Florida State this year.
DJU at Florida State. I love DJU the person, right? I think he's a really good leader. I think he wants to obviously do everything he can to win and to make himself as good as possible. I just don't feel like he's a natural thrower of the football. I think he is Joe Milton with a little bit of a weaker arm. That's just, the nuance isn't there to me, man. He can't make the routine throws routine.
You could not be more correct on your assessment. And I've said going back to that first year with him as a starter at Clemson, even going back to that first game against Georgia, he's just innately inaccurate.
Yeah.
And you can't be innately inaccurate and be successful consistently at the quarterback position. You talk about making the routine plays routinely.
So I've been thinking about what to say about this, how to attack it. We kind of made the thumbnail about it, but instant reaction there. What's your first feelings for the crowd? I know they want to know how Jen feels after he gets compared to the guy who couldn't cut it at Tennessee.
What's my feeling? Well, one, they're nowhere close to the same player. That's just a absolutely. I don't even know how to take that. I really don't, because they're nowhere close to the same player. You want to talk about inaccuracies with Joe Milton, who was at Tennessee, who was previously at Michigan. You talk about what DJU had to deal with at Clemson with Dabo hiring his brother-in-law or cousin or whatever it was to be his offensive coordinator. And then he was at Oregon State, where, I think he did better than what he did at Clemson. I also don't think the coaching was all that stellar at Oregon State.
Goodness gracious. Amber alert, guys. Sorry.
I think, I think that the coach that left, what was his name? Smith, Smith that went to Michigan State. He's a fine coach, But I mean, you're talking about him going to play for Mike Norvell, who's very good with quarterbacks. DJU has all the intangibles that you need. He is nowhere close to Joe Milton. Joe Milton could be coached by Tom Brady himself and still want to throw the ball over a mountain and it be inaccurate. I would like to see what their take is then on Cam Ward. What's their take on Cam Ward? Where was that conversation? Because how in the world could you say that about DJU? It just was a terrible, terrible take. Honestly, it was bad. And I love Crane Company, obviously, but that was just bad. That was bad. They're not the same player. They're just not. You're muted.
They're both really big guys. And they both have decent arms, whatever. Is Joe Milton's a little stronger? Like, that's about where it ends. Like, they say some things, they talk about some things that it's not too far in the realm. If you were doing like an NFL draft breakdown, if you're talking about whether DJU right now, just looking at his body of work, is going to be an NFL draft prospect, those might be some critiques you have there. But to compare him to a guy in Joe Milton who never really could get the thing going at Tennessee, only got the starting job as a 5th-year senior because, for whatever reason, there was nobody left to beat him out that year. And we all saw what Tennessee looked like. Giant disappointment. And let's talk about the situations that the two guys were in. Okay, so Clemson, where DJU showed up as a true freshman, and then I believe it was a redshirt freshman he started, and then a redshirt sophomore the 2 years. Clemson was at the end of the line of a kind of dying offense. Like, we all saw what happened. They lost all their guys. It stopped being Clemson scheming guys open. He was in a situation where he had to just do everything himself. Like, he really had to be that guy on that offense to make it work on a backwards offense. Did it work? Was it great? No. But he still has a 2-to-1 touchdown ratio. Joe Milton has 1 year out of his 6 years in college that he has 1 year comparable to what DJU had. Then DJU goes to Oregon State and is just on a terrible team and is the best player on the team. Puts the team on his back. It wasn't a great year. They didn't have a ton of wins. But the Pac-12 was probably the best conference in the country last year. And you brought up the coaches. Mike Norvell, I would really like to know what you brought up, Cam Ward. I would like to know what their breakdown of Jordan Travis would have been 2 years ago, going into 2022. If this is what they think of DJU is, because you think about Jordan Travis. Here's a guy who shows up at Louisville, doesn't get play, transfers over to Florida State, doesn't get play. His second year gets a little bit as a runner. Coach leaves, come in with a new coach. Guys thinking about quitting football. All this stuff turns out not to brag, but I was talking about this dude in 2021 with the right team around him could be a Heisman contender. People told me I was nuts, all these things. Well, a couple of years later with Mike Norvell, it happens. Okay. So, I highly doubt that Mike Norvell was tampering and trying to get Joe Milton to come to Florida State. So it's one of those things where people get around and start talking about football. And I think, maybe they were talking in terms of the draft, but in terms of college football, when you talk about kind of the top college football quarterbacks out there, the guys that get a ton of credit, let's talk about Jalen Hurts. What was Jalen Hurts? He was an extremely similar situation to DJU. Shows up as a very young freshman kid and is thrust into a situation on a end of a dynasty, a championship type team. And what ends up happening? He gets benched for a true freshman. Does that sound familiar? Kind of like old Kate Klubnik over at Clemson. And what happens? Well, it just so happens he was able to transfer to Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley, and was in a great situation, whatever. DJU had 1 year at Oregon State, and we saw what it looked like. He carried that team. So this is one of those ones I just can't wait to see the end of the year. Scott D says it's a lazy take by analysts who didn't watch him since 2021. I don't know that. I don't know how much Jake's watched him. I don't know how much Lugan Bills watched him. But yeah, it really hit home to me. I thought it was pretty wild when you look at the quarterbacks around the nation. and I'll pick up and kind of pull up, just to drive this home. We're going to pull up, what's his name? Joe Milton's career stats, and we're going to pull up DJU's just to kind of compare, just to show kind of why I'm so kind of angered by this, and why I thought it was absolutely flagrant that they would compare them. I mean, you're talking about, it's just lazy.
Oh. Yeah, I thought it's like they looked at the body type and just said, okay, here you go. This is your comparison. Okay. I don't understand. I just don't understand. Like it's like they looked at the size and just said, okay, like everybody knows Joe Milton has this amazing arm, but can't throw it to anybody on the right team. I haven't seen interceptions be DJU's problem. So I don't know where that comes from.
Who are the quarterbacks at Michigan that were starting over him? You know, who are the quarterbacks at Tennessee? Hendon Hooker, he looked great for 1 year, you know.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. He had a good year. Yeah. But I mean, like, does that not come into, like, DJU has been everywhere. You know, he's at Clemson, 5-star quarterback U, all these different things. Like, all he's done is go places and start. And, you know, whatever. We're going to pull up, again, we're going to pull up Joe Milton and just look, you know, just to kind of compare, just to show the difference here in the body of work and everything. I think, and it's a theme we talk about on this show a whole lot. I don't think people give credit or understand. I think people, when they think of DJU, they think of a guy who came into Clemson for 2 years and was supposed to be the next coming, that walked and just got this Lamborghini and he failed. And he just missed wide open players. And he just did this and he just did that. Okay, chat, you tell me, who are the stud wide receivers at Clemson at 21 and 22? I'll wait. So just name them. You let me know the receivers that were in 21 and 22, and then let's talk about the receivers that were there, say 2012 through 2017, 2018. It's not even in the same ballpark. You had an NFL quarterback and Trevor Lawrence, the dude had to replace. You're talking about a dude who showed up and gave hope to an NFL franchise by like his second year in the NFL. Okay, he was holding that thing together by sticks and glue. At Clemson, and it's just, I mean, we're good. And next we'll pull up the stats for what Cade Klubnik did as his replacement, because they're not comparing him to Cade Klubnik. You want to talk about a quarterback? Let's talk about Jalen Milroe. Want to talk about? Let's compare Jalen Milroe to DJU.
Do you mean the Golden Boy?
Like,
who was just.
Like, nothing against Joe Milton. It's like for a name to pull out of such a colossal disappointment of a guy that had such, you know, high hopes and expectations, and a guy who is in a system like Tennessee is, whatever you want to call it, that Art Briles gadget system where any quarterback in there for the most part, even if they're not great, even if they're not efficient, even if they're not the best, they should put up numbers, like, you know, and he struggled with it in a way that DJU has not struggled with comparable options.
It was just, that's such a, I don't know. I agree with the person in the chat who said it was a lazy take, because it's a lazy take. It's like they looked, like I said, it's like they looked at the body type and just said, and went to 2 different teams, right? So it's like they looked at the body type, looked at the 2 different teams. Joe Milton was never going to start for Tennessee, except for, you know, like Hendon Hooker, I think, got hurt or something. And then they were forced to start Joe Milton all last year, right? Which they brought Nico in for the bowl game. Joe Milton was told, you know, thank you for playing. But I seem to remember this same guy, Tom Luganville, also said Marcus Mariota was a better quarterback than Jameis Winston. So I'll leave that there.
Bam. And that's a conversation for another day, man. Oh my gosh, those takes were nuts. You know, we can talk about the NFL careers and stuff, but yeah, anybody who thought that was, you know, whatever.
Oh yeah.
I hope we get to see Jameis get another shot, but we've got his stats pulled up here. And just to give an idea in like kind of a year by year, you know, comparison, just so everybody knows, Joe Milton was in college football 2 whole years, it looks like, before DJU even came to college football. So let's just get that out of the way. Right. What DJU, like, they're comparing DJU to Joe Milton's his 6th year, senior year, in which he had at Tennessee now, and again in a system where Hendon Hooker just went off the rails and destroyed. You're talking about Jalen Hyatt, the high flying offense. Nobody's going to stop that Tennessee offense or this and that. They're going to take over. They're going to be the next team behind Georgia in the SEC East. Oh, well, you come out this year with Joe Milton, they get destroyed by Florida. Destroyed by Florida. You disappear. You do nothing. Okay. So yeah, sure. His senior year, his 6th year senior year, he had a somewhat comparable stat line to what our guy DJU had at Oregon State, where he had this thing on his back in the complete kind of opposite situation with a terrible line and all this stuff. I mean, you rode the bench as a redshirt senior. You know, to a Hendon Hooker guy who, say what you want, he's gone off, you know, to the next level, but we'll see. We'll see if he's a big time pro player. You know, I just think he was just a good fit for the system. And again, coaching, system, situations, these all make a difference. So first year, 4 games, basically, you know, he was just a relief guy. He never had more than 100 completions until the year he started. 3 completions as a true freshman. His second year, 3 completions, 80 as a junior. His true season year, 32 completions. Redshirt season year, 53 completions. That's the Hendon Hooker season. And then, of course, we have last year with his 20 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. That's the only thing I can think is that they just looked at the stat line of Joe Milton going into the draft and where he would fall on a board or this and that. And then they looked at what DJU's stat line has been, you know, pretty it's been about the same every year, around 20 touchdowns and 6 or 7 picks. So that's about the only thing I can see there on the comparison. But if you chart it, DJU had his best season in the bag as a true freshman, as a redshirt freshman, like he's already got 3 of those seasons in his pocket and way worse situations, and has another year at Florida State. I just feel like they have that thing called freezing cold takes. If ever there was a freezing cold takes, I feel like this one. And don't feel like we're picking on you. There's not much to talk about. We love you, Jake, but you know, no love lost for Tom Luganball, though. I don't know you, man, but you know, just the fact that he starts laughing at the beginning of that.
Yeah.
You know, oh, DJU. It's like I don't know where people get off. It's like you know, before, what was Jaden Daniels really before this year? Like before he got in the right situation and got the right coaches around him, what was he? You know, again, Jordan Travis, what did he become? Let's look at Tyler Van Dyke. Is DJU better than Tyler Van Dyke? Are they talking about Tyler Van Dyke like that? It's like these other guys get the benefit of the doubt. Oh, well, they're going to go over here and be a success. I don't know where this DJU hate came from, but maybe we'll be proven wrong. Maybe I'll eat crow at the end of the day, but it is what it is. I want to play this one thing one more time now that we've got everybody in here, and you know, we'll cut it back to Jen on some more of her thoughts, but I just want people to see this and understand what we're talking about in the take here.
DJU at Florida State. I love DJU the person, right? I think he's a really good leader. I think he wants to obviously do everything he can to win and to make himself as good as possible. I just don't feel like he's a natural thrower of the football. I think he is Joe Milton with a little bit of a weaker arm. That's just, the nuance isn't there to me, man. He can't make the routine throws routine.
You could not be more correct on your assessment. And I've said, going back to that first year with him as a starter at Clemson, even going back to that first game against Georgia, he's just innately inaccurate.
Yeah.
And you can't be innately inaccurate and be successful consistently at the quarterback position. You talk about making the routine plays routinely.
Man, guys, I just can't get over it, guys. We're going to do this thing a little different today. Like I said, it's kind of a slow thing, but I really wanted to get everybody's opinion, see if we're just crazy homers. But I'm going to throw the line up here. If you guys want to call in, if y'all have any questions, comments on this topic, or want to talk about anything else, go ahead with it. But I'm sorry, Jen, go ahead with your thoughts.
No, it's just, I love that this comment especially with Tom Luganbell, he's talking about when he was at Clemson. When he was at Clemson, being coached by Dabo's like third cousin or whatever the hell he was up to with that coaching staff at the time. You're talking about a coaching staff that had nothing in order. It was a mess over there. Everybody knows it. We've talked about it. And by the way, while he was doing very well at Oregon State, these same people were talking about, wow, I guess Clemson is a mess. And that's what dinged Florida State.
Yeah.
Like, are y'all kidding me now? Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? Y'all were perfectly fine with DJU last year. You thought he did so well. The moment now he's transferring to Florida State, you're like, I don't know. He's kind of Joe Milton. And during the year last year, wow, it must have just been that Clemson's down. They really suck. Let's not rank them. I'm so over all of this. Like, I don't even see how anybody doesn't see it, because again, they were perfectly fine with DJU at Oregon State and praising him and praising how he was doing, because he was doing a good job. And everybody saw that it really wasn't his fault that Clemson was down. And so they were like, oh, wow, so Clemson just sucks. Let's just not rank them. They've won more games than Tennessee. Tennessee has beaten literally nobody. We're going to rank Tennessee 4 spots ahead because, you know, Joe Milton's so good, right? Joe Milton's so good. And now Joe Milton is now a verb to denigrate DJU. Okay, cool. Thank you, guys.
I love it, Jen. Jen's fired up. I'm fired up. We got our first caller on the line. You're live on the Renegade Rundown.
Hey guys, it's Ron. Everybody's fired up today, I guess. Look, that old DJ thing is, when they said everybody has a weak arm, that boy does not have a weak arm whatsoever. That boy can drop pills like a dime. I think it's just why everybody's hating on DJU, because he's going to Florida State. And nobody likes Florida State, right? Everybody hates Florida State. Look, he's going to ball out. Look at when he was in there playing for Trevor Lawrence during that COVID thing. He made everybody look stupid and silly. Now he's coming here, and he's got weapons out the wazoo. He is literally going to ball out. Thanks, guys. Love the show. You guys are doing great. Have a good one.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for calling in, man. Anytime.
So, man. Irvin Williams in the chat has a great point. Regardless, DJ still won 10 games while at Clemson. Absolutely. Guess who didn't? Cade Kolubinik. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I don't understand the hate for him. I don't understand. Maybe because all these guys just love Dabo so much, and it exposed that Dabo is not a really good coach, because he's not. We all know that. He's not even allowed to call plays, guys. I don't know who thinks he is. He's not. It's his coaching staff. The reason he was retained, he was almost fired after year 2. Dabo would never have been a coach if he didn't fire his whole coaching staff and bring in the likes of Brent Venables, Jeff Scott, Tony Elliott.
He made some great hires in the beginning. You get fat cat daddy, you get comfortable, and you think you can just start promoting within and you don't have to evolve.
Yep.
That's what made Nick Saban so great. That's how he was able to extend his career 2-3 times some other people's dudes. And that's why you see a Jimbo, you see a Dabo have something special going there for a while, but it flames out. It's kind of what I love about what Mike Norvell does in his program and how he runs things and sets it up for the future. It feels like something, whenever the time comes, you'll be left in good hands where the next person goes. But I got DJU stats up here. We just got through looking at Joe Milton, who was in college for 6 years, and the culmination of his entire career and preparing to play there after 2-3 years at Tennessee was a season that was, yes, comparable to DJU. So here's what it is. I think this is pretty much it. And look, I'm not one to talk smack, so I'm just going to get off. We're not even going to just talk about the kind of people who made that take. We're just going to talk about the differences here. But those guys that are national, they have to cover and pay attention to so many different people. So that's the one out I'll give them. Maybe, they're caught up looking at stats. Because when I look at the stats, here, that's basically where the comparison comes from. DJU's have 3 consistent seasons, all with, in that same kind of area of quarterback play, and old dude have 1 in his 6th year. But like Jen mentioned, like I talked about, when you look at what he was able to do as a true freshman in 9 games at Clemson, 146 quarterback rating. As a sophomore, as a junior there, the games he won, I remember seeing him destroy us. I remember, we want to talk about he can't hit open guys and this and that. Well, I watched him do it against us. I watched him do it against pretty much everybody in the ACC. Pitt did win it that one year, but not on him. I have to look at the stats on the computer right here of what DJU did at Clemson, and then I have to look what happened when he left. And in the history of what Mike Norvell does with quarterbacks, I guess it's a spit in the face to Mike Norvell, is what I'm saying.
It is.
There's no way in hell if Joe Milton was in the transfer portal and DJU is there, Florida State would be looking at him like splitting straws. So we could go on about this all day, but I just wanted to pull it up here and really talk about DJU and set the record straight and just kind of point out kind of what the rest of the country is saying versus what the reality is. What we know the reality is, is he going to be a Heisman contender? We can talk about that. Is he going to be, a threat to be a first-round draft pick after this year? That's a pretty big claim. But is he going to be a top 15, top 10 quarterback in the country? It's a given. He's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's going to be competing for all ACC, competing for an ACC championship. And I have no doubt, not a single doubt in my mind, coming to Norvell, being a part of a system built for playmakers. It's not like a gimmicky system. It's not to the level of a Tennessee Art Briles offense that Mike Norvell runs, but it is, again, an offense built for playmakers, offense that schemes guys open, that's going to be able to take advantage of his size, take advantage of a run game to a level that he hasn't been a part of. A team that plays. Also, another difference is in these two schemes, when you look at the numbers of an Art Briles offense, of this Tennessee offense, and what they do, they are a team that is more offensive. Like, they go out there, boom, they got to score all these points. Florida State is a much more balanced, much more lean on your offense leans on your defense type of thing, running it 60-40% versus, throwing it 80% or whatever they do at Tennessee. And, I might be talking out of my butt. I'd have to go look at the splits for this past year. Wow. But I just do know how they run the system. Florida State and what Mike Norvell does is much more balanced. And watch out, because the dude's going to go nuts. You want to talk about running backs at Florida State, the running game he's going to have to back it up, like he hasn't had in his career. He had, a badass running back at Clemson, but he was very young. And again, it was not the same as it was in the primetime years. And what we cut coming in this running back room this year, when you look at Roydell Williams, when you look at Keziah Holmes, when you look at a Lawrence Toafili, can we talk about Lawrence Toafili for a minute, Jen? Dude, sure. Is he the most underrated back in the entire country, in the entire ACC? I feel like we have a Devontae Freeman situation going on with Lawrence Toafili. There was this thing with Devontae Freeman for the first 2-3 years he was on campus. He was just kind of underappreciated, but he always came in these games. Jimbo trusted him more than he trusted anybody. He would give Devontae Freeman that rock and trust him to get the first down, trust him not to fumble it, trust him on the goal line, whatever the case may be. And it paid off. You found out when he got to the NFL, damn, look at this guy. Pro Bowler, multiple year Pro Bowler. He was a stud. Not appreciated. And in Florida, his time at Florida State, his entire time at Florida State, everybody was calling for Carlos Williams and James Wilder Jr. And I was right there with him as a fan. I was like, I want to see JWJ get that thing. Come on. Wild and free, baby. I want to see some of that wild. But, who did what at the pros when they all got there? So I'll just say that, even though our buddy Carlos, who we've had on the show, killed it, and it wasn't, it wasn't his athleticism or his ability to play ball that stopped his career. Who knows what Carlos could have done. But yeah, Wild and Free was a lot of fun back then. And that reminds me of Toafili, Devontae Freeman. Toafili's just been always there. You think back, 2021? He makes the incredible play against Clemson where he bounces off the corner, or the linebacker, whoever was covering him, and just takes off and runs for the touchdown. He just seems to make plays at the right moment. You go back to that Louisville game. He's the MVP of the ACC championship game. That we may talk shit about the ACC, but it still means something. Still supposed to be a Power 5 champion team. Still Louisville, still, whatever. Notre Dame kicked their ass. Still Ohio State's best win. All these different things when you look at the transversive properties of these teams. Don't buy into the hype. that Florida State wasn't deserving. That was an amazing performance that he put on. I think he had like 12 carries, over 100 yards. What he's able to do, the vision he's able to have from the wildcat position, I can't wait to see what they do off of that, what they branch off of that. Because, I mean, his vision and what he was able to do with that was amazing. And Roydell Williams at Alabama, again, here's a guy, and people want to, he's a transfer. Transfers don't make up first-round picks and this and that. I'm telling you right now, anybody that played for Nick Saban and got close to 600 yards carrying the football, yeah, he's going to fit. It's going to be all right. Mike Norvell is going to make, he's going to find a way to make it work. And if you don't know about Keziah Holmes, if all you've seen is the few touches he's got mop-up duty here and there at Florida State, go back and watch Keziah Holmes' recruiting, where he was. Go watch his freshman year at Penn State before his injury, and where everybody that you talk to talks about him getting back to being 100%. Super, super excited. We talk about all the time, especially, I'm kind of taking this one from Chris because he says it all the time. Chris and James say it. You can read the tea leaves. You don't necessarily have to be an insider. You don't have to have friends like me and Jen do that we can call and talk to and ask about these different things. You can just read the tea leaves of what's happening. And, that's Keziah Holmes. All of a sudden after the year, this person's transferring out. You hear about this person's, who's transferring in. This one wants 100,000 or he's transferring to Miami. None of that from Keziah Holmes. As soon as the season was over, he was like, oh my gosh, y'all, I'm so fired up. I'm locked in. I'm coming back. And you're talking about a guy in 2022 who was on this squad for an entire year, on the practice team. He not even eligible to play. It was, I don't know exactly what happened, something to do with transferring transcripts from Penn State, yada, yada, whatever the case may be. He was the scout team running back for all of 2022. So you're talking about a guy in Keziah Holmes and, transfer this and that. The dude's going into his third year at FSU. For all intents and purposes, his junior year, but he was already a sophomore when he got here. So, yeah, those top three guys are insane. And you talk about those top three guys, we haven't even got to Cam Davis. Have you guys seen Cam Davis? Have you seen what he looks like now? Cam Davis was huge. He was swole. Well, you look at him right now, and it's like that water weight, a bit of that baby fat has kind of gone a little bit, and he just looks hard. And the dude, I just can't wait. Everybody that you talk to that's close to the program, you won't get specific information about practices or tour duties like we've had in the past. They're being in-house, but everybody's super excited to talk about Cam Davis. I haven't talked to a single person that wasn't just wait, he's going to be that freshman, kind of like I talked about Conrad Hussey. Look out for him to be that freshman to really take off. And people forget that Sam Singleton even exists. I mean, these guys love Sam Singleton.
Yeah, I want to see the high schooler that was blocking Cam Davis in high school. Ooh. I want to see what that person looks like. I really do. I want to see I actually want to talk to him and say, hey, did you look at him and say, man, today maybe my leg hurts? I don't know, because if you're a high schooler and you have to go block that kid, I don't know what to tell you. Unless you are maybe the person blocking him was going to Bama or somewhere. I don't know. I'm just saying that seems like a terrible job to have, and it seems like you've been set up to fail because that is a grown man. That is not an 18-year-old. I'm sorry. That is a grown man. He's so he can, God, just look how mature he is. It's craziness. His parents did such a good job with him. I've honestly, that kid is I don't know what to say. I mean, he's going to be a star. He's going to be a star.
Yeah. We got to get the Genuine Savage on here. Miss Davis, we got to get her on the show, but yeah, he's great. If you got to go to any games last year, if you were able to go to the 2024 spring game, you would have got to meet him, meet his mom. They were there. They were just about several different home games that I went to. They were there. They were around, shaking hands, kissing babies. And yes, as I alluded to earlier, the dude is big. Double Boy says Cam Davis is built like Cam Akers, and Akers was a monster as a true freshman. Yes. That's a big comparison. I get flack for making this comparison because people like to use it's like revisionist history, but in reverse. People want to look at what Cam Akers became in the NFL and say, oh, that's an unfair comparison. No, it's an extremely good comparison. In high school, both were the quarterbacks of their teams. Okay, both. both, these 3,000 yards passing, several thousand yards rushing, all these 60, 70 touchdowns. They're the same dude in high school. Both, as Double Boy points out, similarly built. I think Cam Davis is even a little bit bigger, maybe especially on the top half. I think he is, but yeah, super good comparison. And I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever to see if they had super similar freshman years. Now there's going to be a little bit less opportunity because when Cam Akers showed up as a true freshman, he got a bulk of the carries. He got a pretty good bit there his first couple of years, but yeah, super excited, especially on short yardage stuff. We don't really have a back like Cam Davis. He's like Toafili plus 30 pounds, 40 pounds. That's what it is. I guess that's the closest, because if you see how Lawrence Toafili runs out of that wildcat single, whatever you want to call it, 11 on one scheme there, he very similar. And definitely, like Jen says, make sure you make your spring game plans, because we will be there, me and Jen. It's going to be at Lot 5, the 36 Degrees tailgate. Well, I'm not sure exactly what they'll call it, but it's Big Game James Coleman, Chris Frazier of Spear Addicts, and CJ Wilson of Dope Talk, along with me and Jen. Chip from Unconquered 850 and Spear Addicts will be there. All kinds of alumni. It's going to be a ton of fun. Those three guys do an amazing job putting it on. Last year, I kind of showed up and helped, try to be as involved as I can to help out with that. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Lot 5, 420. Be there or be square. That shit, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you bring your kid, whatever, if you're sentimental, if you're one of these people that hasn't had a chance to really like meet former players and stuff, you're just one of these people that gets a ticket and goes. You're not really connected, this or that. Look, me and Jen, our friends Chris and James, we're all a big family. Show up to the tailgate. You're going to be able to meet some really cool people. Join up, memberships on these different channels, build a relationship. We're living the dream doing what we do, talking about FSU, but it's also about getting together and fellowshipping and moving. Everybody's kind of moving towards Tallahassee. I'm not going to report on any particular people, but myself, within the year, the plan is, if I'm lucky before the season, to be moved to Tallahassee. So we can't wait to see you guys. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. If you ain't got a ticket now, go ahead and get it. And don't forget that number is up there, 850-495-1906. The phone line is open. If you have any questions, anything you want to talk about as it pertains to FSU football, now's the time. Speak now, forever hold your peace. Jen, is there anything in particular you were wanting to get into besides this tragedy that we just covered there?
The travesty. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. So I did have a point, and then I kind of forgot it on the travesty that we covered. Okay. Yeah. Everybody keeps talking about the high-flying Tennessee offense, the high-flying. They got blown out by Florida. Can we stop with Tennessee being back? Like, I think the Nico kid looks great, but you're going to have to go beat Florida now this year. You're going to have to, who knows? Last year, Florida was just as bad as they're going to be this year. What's the difference? Yeah. What's the difference in Florida last year and this year? What's the difference? Because do you think Tennessee can beat them this year? I don't know. So this high-flying Tennessee offense and just the Joe Milton of it all is honestly, it's offensive to DJU. It's offensive. For sure. And there's honestly, I think we should fight back on it, and maybe I'll do it. I don't know. I don't want to piss Jake off, but we've been fighting back for 40 minutes. She was not ready to move on, guys. I said, do you have anything else? She went right back to it. I wasn't. We fought back for sure. They didn't come to our house and burn our house down, but no, we definitely did it. And if he wants to come on and we can have a debate about it or whatever, it would be fun. But yeah, that just me and Jen feel for our guy DJU. We gotta speak up on his behalf. We just gotta do it. But is there anything else you're excited about around Knoll Nation? Is there anything that's caught your eye here the past couple of days? I think all right. Well, excited or worried or I don't know. I like the Zion news, that he's got Florida State up there for him. I do like that. Zion Grady. I'm a little worried about Jamie French, guys. I'm a little worried about Jamie French. Yeah, we can talk about that for a second. Jamie French is one that I really love. He's a commit
that I really, really wanted, especially when Nick Saban leaves Alabama. They announced Kalen DeBoer, of course. When we're talking about Jamie French, the 5-star wide receiver at Mandarin High School. Of course, our buddy James Coleman is a running backs coach over there, so pretty close to the situation. You'd like to think the staff could use him to get in there on that one. But, it's a long, long ways to go. Kind of the key to a lot of these big time recruitments that we were up against Ohio State this year. Of course, Jeremiah Smith, Brian Hartline. He's kind of like what we have in Alex Atkins at offensive line. He's kind of that young guy at wide receiver. He's getting these damn dudes, especially out of Florida. And I know Jen hates it, but yeah, Ohio State, for whatever reason, they are the Clemson of the 2010s, to where these top wide receivers really head over there. And with Alabama dropping off, I was hoping Florida State was really going to jump on that and lock it down, but no. Ohio State is definitely the biggest issue there. And if I had to put in a crystal ball today, it would be for them, unfortunately.
Me too. I'm actually, I'm not going to be surprised if he commits to them early.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. That's another thing we can talk about. Also, legislation has came down, or I guess it's not legislation. The NCAA has passed down rules at the behest of the administrators of these universities, and they have finally decided to change the early signing day. We knew something had to happen with this calendar, with these coaches leaving, the way the 30 days lined up to that perfect gap, the dead period in between high school and transfer portal recruiting. So that was their solution. Jen, I wish they would have just went back to the February signing day. I don't know why the hell they had to do this, but instead they go earlier. They go to the beginning of December. So this way kids are going to be committing even sooner, like before any coaches leave. Seems like, I would just tell my kids it would behoove them to wait till the end. If they have the leverage whatsoever, wait to the end. But the problem is with these top schools, you have to get a spot. Unless you're a top 10 recruit in the nation, you're not willing to wait. But sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know why they don't just do it January 1st. I think that would be a great thing for New Year's Day. I know there's bowl season. I know there's things going on. You could do it like January 3rd, right after that, because it's before the national championship game, right? If you want to do an early signing day, I don't know why you wouldn't do it after every other bowl, every other playoff, the national game is set up, right? Why wouldn't you just do it on that January 3rd, 4th, 5th when the national championship game is on the 9th? And however that turns out, that's on them. That's a whole new portal window, whatever.
I agree.
But I don't get this earlier.
If you want it to be
December.
Earlier, axe February and make it January 15th. Sorry, I keep cutting
exactly. Like I don't. No. You're fine. Like I'm just saying, if you want 2 signing days, great. But I don't see the point. The old signing day was just fine. It really was. And it was so fun. I would take off work. I would go buy a bunch of booze, sit in front of my TV, scream at 18-year-olds where they're going, or laugh at other people doing it. It was so fun. It was such a fun day. And why'd y'all have to ruin it? It just, ugh. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I was the only loser taking off on signing day. Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
National Signing Day used to be so much fun. I know everybody remembers the Tomahawk Nation text alerts back when those things meant something if you had to work. I mean, that day was big. You had 20, 30 national letters of intent coming in. You had 3, 4 guys flipping. And you're talking about the biggest of the biggest because everybody was committing. It was like there was just so much more chess to be played in that particular day because there's moves. You can do this if you got the ability to have people, a coach here, a coach there, all these different things. And now it's all about getting business sewed up early. It's all about early. And moving it a whole month earlier, last year, it kind of became June and July. Those were the 2 months. You had to kick ass. You had to pretty much make your class in June and July, and then you have to hold on to them in the season. But yeah, I just don't know. Even earlier to me, it sets up for even more issues. You've got a bigger gap. You've got a longer time. But yeah, either do away from the February one and just make it in December. I don't know what the answer is. But personally, I thought they should have either moved the early one later or just did away with the early one altogether. Maybe you do away with the early one altogether and call the early one February and give them an extra one in March. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but this beginning of the December shit, it makes zero sense to me. Maybe somebody in the comments has a better idea, but we can move on. I won't rail on it, but it just doesn't really make sense for these high school seniors. It's like, I guess school just doesn't matter at all, because like now you're not encouraging them to do any kind of dances or anything like that with them, you know. But anyway,
why do they have to have public signings early? Why don't they just make it that they could sign it privately and do the public day in February? You know what I mean? Like,
the kids want it. Yeah.
I mean, I get that, but they could have their signing ceremony in February. They could have their big moment in February. They could go ahead and sign in January, get their spot, do everything. The team has it locked down. They're done, right? I'm sure everything would leak out. Or could you do your regular signing day in February and then do another one like right after the spring portal window?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I agree. Irvin Williams coming in. He says, with the Tennessee injunction on the NCAA, does that mean Atkins might get off on the violations? And I'm really glad you brought this up. Jen comes out the box with a no. I'm going to say no, but I'm also going to say yes. Here's what I think can happen. Chris was on here the other day, kind of alluded to it, but I'll really get into it here. There was a 2 or 3 different things that Florida State kind of bargained with the NCAA when this guy got snitched on. Whatever, the Georgia kid doesn't end up going to Florida State, so he tells the whole story. They get in trouble. This Tennessee injunction, I think it can reduce it. It's not going to all go away, like Jen said, because Florida State did agree to these things. I think at the end of the day, Alex Atkins ends up serving his 3-game suspension. But and like I said, I'm not trying to steal this take. Chris said the same thing, but he was absolutely right. The scholarships. When you look at the reduction of scholarships and the restrictions they're putting on recruiting and the ability of Florida State to be able to operate their recruiting NIL thing and all that and have to operate at a reduced scholarship level, I think that stuff could get thrown out. I think there's a very good chance that could get reduced or thrown out. I think the 3 games is pretty solid, but no, absolutely. And the natural question after that is like, well, holy shit, 4, 5, 6 different cases, all these different cases around the country. Tennessee, who looked like they had the death penalty coming, they get an injunction. All these people are winning. Dartmouth basketball, winning. USC basketball, winning. Why did Florida State just take this slap on the wrist? Why did they just take the kick on the ass? Why didn't they just, it's just, you have to pick your battles, guys. You can only have so many irons in the fire. Florida State isn't trying to take on ACC, the ESPN, the NCAA, and the NRA all at once, guys. They gotta take a step back. Pick your battles. I think Florida State had every intention, if you've been listening, if you've been following the tea leaves, if you've been watching Spear Addicts, if you've been watching the Renegade Report, if you've been watching Michael Alford's press conferences the past 2 years, you've known something was coming. If you've been following Project Osceola and the medical research buildings they're planning on building, something's happening. So they all knew what their plan was. I think that's what it was. They just wanted to get the NCAA off their back, make sure they're in perfect standing with the NCAA. Should all of a sudden you're free and you can go to the Big Ten, you don't want a bunch of bullshit with the NCAA hanging over your head. You don't want academic sanctions. What does Florida State have right now? I think they have the highest APR in the history of the college. These kids, it's not only, because Florida State, when we had TJ Altimore, we talked about it. One of the best academic schools in the nation, number 53 in the nation out of all the schools. And that's not counting athletic, like D1 athletic schools, period. We're talking about education. The average GPA at Florida State is like 4.24 to like 4.4, something like that. It's insane. Used to be you could get in, pretty much anybody could get in at Florida State at one point that had, legit and serious about college. It's tough now. It's competitive just like the rest of these big universities. And I don't think people realize what number 53 means in terms of that. When you stack it up against the other football programs, it's elite. It would be the best academic school in the entire Big 12 conference if we went over there today. Can we make an announcement on a Tuesday show right now?
We can.
Okay, so I've been talking about this particular article, and we pulled it up on the show the other day. We're not going to pull it up today because we have them coming Tuesday. But Bill Farley of billfarley.substack.com did an amazing job on the project Osceola, which is the project to raise funds to get out of the ACC, build the football only facility. All these different projects are all built in there. That's where the funding is coming from. It's a huge, huge thing, and we could get tons into it. They're talking about building a hotel on the campus next to the basketball stadium. Like I said, a giant medical research facility. There's a third one that I'm not thinking. They're redoing concessions. They're doing a giant concessions contract. They're doing all kind of different things. Of course, also the stadium's getting renovated. So we're going to be able to have him on. Haven't confirmed, but we're going to have to ask our buddy TJ if he can come on Altimore, because if Tony Altimore could come on with Bill Farley, that would be amazing to get those two guys together. But for now, billfarley.substack.com. Go check out that. Go check out his two articles, and he's going to be on here with us to go through it point by point. And like, you're talking about a lot of stuff. A lot of us have talked. We've seen a lot of the stuff behind the scenes. We've talked about it, heard about it. He's got the actual paperwork. A lot of it's redacted, but we'll be able to go with it. And with a Florida State eye for it, and he'll be able to answer a ton of questions for you guys, and we'll really be able to get into the tea leaves like we talked about. It's really going to show you the tea leaves of why it's Big 10 for the Florida State, why it makes perfect sense for Big 10 and Fox to partner with Florida State as far as academics, athletics, and why no matter what happens in this case, even if you fall out and lose and it's going to cost you $500 million to get out of the ACC, it's happening. And so that will be a ton of fun. So we definitely want to hype that up. And just so everybody knows, Tuesday is also my birthday. So boom, it'll be a big fun. It'll be my birthday show, February the 27th. George turns 33. We're going to do some fun stuff. Talking to a certain producer. I'm not sure if it's going to work out. I haven't talked to him this week, but we had some stuff lined up either Tuesday or Friday of this coming week, my birthday week. So we're looking to evolve the show, getting a little bit better post-production and somebody actually running the show behind the scenes. So we got all kind of fun stuff in the works, and it's all possible because of you guys, because of the members, because of the super chats, because of the people that sign up over at renegadereport.substack.com, that donate to the Cash App, whatever the case may be. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And that's what this shit's all about, man. We're almost to an hour on this lovely kind of slow Sunday. But rant over. FSU is the number 2 party school. Who says that, Alex Roberto? Number 1. Who's the number 1 party school?
I think it's Arizona State. I think Arizona State won it this year. I think.
I don't care what Rolling Stone magazine says. It's FSU.
It's usually
is it because Doak's under construction?
Probably. It's usually Florida State or Arizona State typically at the top.
Yeah, it is. It's fair. They're pretty similar to us out there. They're like Arizona's, is like when if you put the top state, you put all 50 states up and you ranked them, obviously Florida's way above Arizona State. So it's just like whatever that lesser version is, but they don't really have much to do out there but party. Florida State partying is super high, but we also have the football team, this and that, whatever. I don't know, I'm kind of an old head, so whatever has replaced Moon, whatever they do down there, I know there's plenty of parties in Tallahassee. They're not lacking.
You're turning 33. You're not old.
I guess for our demographic, they're probably our age and a little older. But yeah, you can, when you get around college kids, when you go to these football games and you start walking around the tailgates. Yeah, Jen, I feel old. I'm telling you. But no, I'm all tongue in cheek. I realize I'm not an old geezer yet, but I sure feel it.
You're not.
Tomcat says the baseball team is still undefeated. I got to do a better job paying attention to baseball and softball. I saw Michaela Edwards hit a walk-off home run the other day, I believe.
I watched baseball yesterday.
They're getting a little swag going. Did you?
I did not watch today, but I did watch yesterday. I did not watch today. I was kind of running around, but I did watch yesterday. I love college baseball. College baseball is so much more fun than regular baseball. I don't know. It's the bats. It's the ding, guys. It's the ding, 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 ding. I love it so much more. I love it so much more than Major League. But I do watch Major League Baseball as well. I'm a huge Giants fan. So and a
Giants. The
little
fuck?
yeah.
Braves. The Braves. What are you talking about? The Giants. The
I can't
Giants.
do the Braves. I can't do the Braves.
Jesus.
Can't do the Braves.
The Rock and Roll Pepper Show says we desperately need a facility like Georgia's. He meant Georgia's, although we do have a pretty dope barn out here at the ranch,
Yeah.
or Alabama's, or countless others. It would help so much in recruiting. And like I just talked about, who we're having on, Bill Farley, it's in there, and that's one of the numbers that isn't redacted. $116 million football-only facility. So make no mistake, Rock and Roll Pepper Show. Florida State will somewhat be resetting the market when they build that thing. It's going to be well worth the wait. We've waited a long time, and my mom says I need to stop doing this. I guess when she watches the show, she says I pick on my beard. But guys, sorry, I do it. But yeah, no, it's going to be big. It's going to be amazing.
So
I can't imagine what it's going to look like. Of course,
that's
man. Of
so
course.
Nice. My family doesn't watch.
How do you think we get so many views every week? I've got her the TV, the tablet, the telephone. We've got it running, baby. That's probably 100 of the viewers we got right now.
My family does not watch. I have 7 brothers and sisters. None of them watch. Basically, when I say I can't do this, I have a show, and they're like, "What show?"
A badass show. They gonna find out. Give it some time, baby. We're building up. We are building up. We're coming. We're gonna keep working on it. We're gonna keep getting better for you guys. Don't forget, the number is down there on the bottom of the screen: 850-495-1906. If you have any questions, you want to talk about anything in particular you want to get into before we get out of here, we'll probably do another 30 minutes if everything happens. But what's that?
How are y'all going to give me crap about the Giants? Like Buster Posey, the Giants?
It's only a Florida State channel. That is fair. Like we respect Buster Posey. He is that dude. But San Francisco is in California, Jen.
Bruce Bosher,
California, Florida State, California, Florida State.
Their manager was whatever. He was their manager for the longest time. He played at Florida State, right? I mean, what are we doing?
It's
Why are
fair.
you giving me crap about this?
It's fair. Because it's San Francisco.
I don't care. Buster Posey can play for Saddam Hussein for all I care. I'm going to support him. I'm just saying, I like the Giants. I do. I don't like the Braves. I don't. I'm sorry. I just don't. Ugh.
Mama makes a appearing in the chat. She says, "Wait till I get a leopard to Appaloosa." Yeah, we'll have to see.
Wait, your mom's in the chat? How cute.
Yeah, she's big into the horses, so I wasn't able, I don't even know if I can say anything about it, but maybe one day I'll have to talk to her about the details. But yeah, we've got to hang out with me and her have got to hang out with the Renegade family of horses before. It was pretty cool. She was like, that was like the coolest thing. She was ever surprised to be like, "Look, I got access for you. I got an inside scoop for you, George. You got to come down here and meet somebody." I got to meet, Renegade and his brother and, sister and stuff like that from over the years. So thanks for showing up, Mom, of course.
Hi, George's mom.
Gave up on the Braves, dude. Come on, man. We just won a World Series not that long ago, if I remember correctly. We got the best player in all of MLB baseball in Ronald Acuna. And I know I'm the one that's always like, stick on Florida State. But come on now. The Braves in the South, a Florida State fan, that's like apple pie. It just goes together. It's natural. We're just picking on Jen to be fun. Like, being a Braves fan, at least she's not like a Duke basketball fan and an FSU Florida State fan.
God,
that shit drives me nuts on the timeline. Shame on you people. And I know I'm friends with you. I know we have fun, but dude, what? Come on. Oh, it's basketball season. On to Duke now. Okay, whatever.
How are the Duke basketball fans today? I'm just wondering.
I guess we couldn't talk about the poor guy. That was another one on Crane and Company that I disagreed with. They feel so bad for that poor Duke guy.
The Duke guy tripped someone else, and now gets sympathy. It's like they're teaching a class on tripping at Duke.
They had another player who used to get hurt tripping guys all the time, didn't they?
Grayson Allen. And he loved to junk. Was he the junk puncher or was that another Duke player? Grayson Allen did both, right?
He did plenty. He was probably he's one of the dirtiest college basketball players of all time. For sure.
I mean, and by the way, he played at Memphis. I was fine with that. He played with the Grizzlies. Look, hey, go trip this dude. I'm cool with that. Go get Draymond Green. Go get him, like enjoy yourself. Junk punch Draymond Green, because Draymond Green loves for some reason to grab other men's undercarriage. I don't know what it is. It's not my problem. I'm not here to diagnose what his problem is. But Duke is the only team I could ever see get sympathy for tripping fans who paid all their money to come to this bullshit game, right? Wake fans, the fastest growing fan base in the ACC, whatever.
Yeah, there's no winner here. Like, I'm not going to defend Wake.
No,
like,
I can't do it. I'm not.
Anybody taking it serious is the problem. If you're taking it serious and acting like anybody was hurt or there was some catastrophe, no, it was just somebody being a dickhead and another guy being a dickhead, and who's the big dickhead in that situation
There's not a lifetime I'm going to defend Wake fans. I'm surprised there were so many fans there to actually storm the court. I think that should have been the headline of the story. But also the player tripping some random fan and then being like, oh, it's over, is so Duke. It's so Duke. And then for all of these announcements, oh my God, this poor kid, he's so amazing. Blah, blah. I'm over it. I can't.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And the video is so blatant. It's so blatant. Nobody hurt that dude. And did he really flop after he tripped somebody? I've never seen anything more Duke in my life. Never, not one time. It was like LeBron was out there tripping people and then just fell over and was like, let me cry some more, blow my powder, everybody love me.
Agreed. John D comes in with the $4.99 super chat. We really appreciate you, bro. He says, kids early enroll for spring practice. If they don't sign before the spring semester begins, they can't participate in summer. And I'm glad you made this comment, because this is very important to point out in this conversation that we had earlier. The early signing period did not make this possible. They have always had early enrollees, even when, and it's what Jim was alluding to earlier and I was alluding to, just because the signing day is, in February 7th or whatever the case may be, 27th, whatever it used to be, just because the national signing day is, doesn't mean you can't sign anytime leading up to that. That's just the national quote unquote signing day. When they lay things out, they set it up to do that. So when they brought in this early signing day, what it did was it moved the calendar up for everybody. So once it started doing that, COVID happened. It just became a lot easier for these kids to early enroll, and the pressure of everything moved earlier. So that's why we're so upset, because it just moved it even earlier. Now you're going to have even more early enrollees. It's going to be like if you're not an early enrollee, it means you may not qualify type thing, instead of being a super special thing. It used to be a handful of elite guys could take care of their school books. But schooling, in my opinion, has gotten to such a level. It's like a 4.2 is what a 3.2 used to be like, in my opinion. But that's a conversation for a whole nother day. But you basically have to be perfect, because things aren't challenging enough to where your aptitude and this thing's actually, it's like you just have to do every single assignment. You have to do every community service. Like, it's busy work to a certain extent. But again, not trying to get into all that. But yeah, it's just pressure on these kids earlier and earlier and earlier, and having to be early enrollees. The farther you move up the national signing day, the more pressure they have to be enrolled by that spring semester, when it's not fair. They shouldn't have to be signed up for classes by January 17th. If you're a high school kid, you shouldn't have any pressure. You should be able to go to national signing day in February. But that's just my opinion on it. Everybody, so we'll see. Somebody says Josh Pate's about to come on with some huge news in 50 minutes. We'll have to see. I didn't know he was much of a
he was only a newsbreaker for the bullshit Alabama coaching stories, wasn't he? Like when he's like, oh, there's our cars lined up at the airport, like 2 nights before Kalen DeBoer was even hired. It was wild.
Breaking news. The U is back.
That's exactly what it's going to be. Breaking news. Mario Cristobal and I are in a relationship.
It may be Billy Napier taking an offensive coordinator job at Miami. Who knows?
Could be DJ Lagway's leaving.
But I like a dong base thing. Disgracing Allen. That's perfect. That is perfect. Let's see what
Yeah,
we got here.
I agree
Ooh, that's a
that
good
Josh
one.
is in the same boat as Kirk. I'm feeling that too.
And back to where we all started with this thing and comparing quarterbacks and all this stuff. Luke Cromenhawk, my guy, Rock and Roll Pepper Show, says, I can't wait to see what Luke does at quarterback. I got a feeling we're going to see that guy sooner than we thought. Maybe not this year, but I bet we see him in some games. And this reminded me of another thing I put in the title and the thumbnail that I almost forgot. I'm glad we got to it. And I put, what did I put exactly? Something like the blueprint or the path for Mike Norvell to get this thing, the path to a dynasty, the path to success for Mike Norvell. And yeah, this is part of it. He's bringing in better and better and better players. And you liken that to quarterbacks and why evaluation matters, situation matters, and why we, that whole thing with DJU pisses me off so bad. Like, you're telling me Mike Norvell's a shit evaluator. That's what you're telling me when you say that. Because, we're on the record on this show saying that he picked him over Cam Ward, over like pretty much everybody else in this thing. People are convinced Will Howard is this supposed to be the all world quarterback, so much better than DJU. I don't get it. I've never been ready for a season in my entire life. But I want to hammer this home. The talent got better. And give me 1 second. I'll cut it off to you because I know you're going to be ready to take off with this. When you look at Miami in their class, you look at Florida in their class and the things they've done. Here are teams, especially Miami, that critically lowered its blue chip ratio. Here is a Florida State team that across the board at every single position except linebacker, maybe, is more talented across the board. We had 27 total blue chips. We brought in 26 in one class. 10 as far as transfers. When you look at our previous 2 or 3 transfer classes, beast all over the place, but it was some projections. It was guys that were listed as 3 stars. You look at the 5 guys we took from Alabama. These are stud blue chip recruits, dudes who were in the plans for a playoff Alabama program. I don't consider Alabama a playoff program right now, but it's because they left. I mean, these are dudes who would have been them guys, in my opinion. Some people don't agree with me, but this is the most talented Florida State team there has been since 2014, period. End of story. You've taken your blue chip ratio from 40% to 60%. Meanwhile, Miami signs 21 3-stars. 21 3-stars. Do you know what that is? That is a quarter of your roster. That's 25%. So 25% of their roster, we know at minimum is 3 stars. And that's before you ever added anything, So, yeah, it's hard to believe when you talk about guys like Pate and these different people, and they talk about how talented and what a great job Mario Cristobal's and these different people are bringing in quarterbacks and all this stuff. But everything Florida State gets their hand on, everything Mike Norvell gets his hand on, it can't be this. You can't do that. And you can't do that. And like I said, I love Jake. I love these different people. We're not picking on particular people. It's just as a whole talking about it. And I'm sure we'll have a different take for the next show. To talk about, but no, Mike Norvell has this thing I really liked. Talk about Josh Pate. One of the things I really liked that he said, he got on there and he said, look, I've kind of doubted, I've this, I've that, but look, he brought in DJU. I don't this or that. It wouldn't have been the quarterback I got, but I trust Norvell and what he's doing. Obviously what he's doing is right, so I will give him that. And that's it. Like, it's like, when does the benefit of the doubt start happening? When does that Saban bump happen? Like, if Alabama would have brought in DJU, they think they'd have compared him to that? I mean, like Tyler Buckner. They weren't even talking about Tyler Buckner like that when he comes in. It's like, so lose me with all the DJU hate. He's going to blow some people away. I cannot wait. I mean, DJU, people forget, was that 5-star. I guess that's what the only thing I can think when the people that talking about it like that are grading him on his 101 recruiting ranking or a first grade curve. Because as a college quarterback, he's a top 10, top 15 quarterback year in, year out. And this year, in the right particular situation, we're going to see. Because he's getting his 5th, 6th year. I think it's 5th year. He's getting his 5th year at quarterback. And it's still a year less than what Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton had. But we're going to see. And then we can compare. We can compare Hendon Hooker's 6th-year gray shirt senior year with what DJU does, because we all saw our comparisons. We saw what we predicted. We predicted about 1,000 more yards than he's ever thrown for. We predicted about 10 more touchdowns. So we're going to see. If you haven't seen that, definitely go back and catch Friday's episode with Chris Frazier of Spear Addicts and Chip Westerly of Spear Addicts and Unconquered 850. We really broke down all the ACC and ESPN stuff there. But anyways, what do you think, Jen? What's on your mind? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just going to say, so if Will Howard had not chosen Ohio State, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would not be talking about him this way. Had he gone to Miami, which was almost laughed at by a lot of national media. Oh my God, is Miami going to have to take Will Howard? But when Ohio State got him, oh my God, Ohio State got Will Howard. It's amazing to me. It's the same people. They do the same things, and then they forget they're on camera when they do it. The fact that Mario Cristobal turned down Will Howard and then lost Cam Ward and then had to go begging back and offer all this money, I mean, which was absolutely just pathetic. But that's fine. You know, you do you. I thought Ja'Cory Brown was your new guy. You know, you had all these things. But that's cool. You know, you do you. You're still going to be the same guy who cannot coach quarterbacks. You're still going to be the same person, you know, who can't take a knee. I just am wondering, would Will Howard to USC gotten the same glam that he got going to Ohio State? Because I think Riley is a better quarterback coach than Ryan Day. So to me, Lincoln Riley is losing his shine with the media, right? Because the media now with Ohio State is just with Will Howard. Oh my God, this is going to be the best quarterback in the country. Cool. It's so funny. Like, if Cam Ward had gone to the NFL, Will Howard had gone to Miami, and Florida State, of course, still got DJU, because I think that's who they were getting the whole time. I don't see this DJU hate. I don't.
That is very true. He'd be Heisman hype if he was over there.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. Florida State's got to earn their thing. But this guy, Rock and Roll Pepper Show, has been on a roll. He said all these coaches just wait to see what Norvell does. They actually use us this year for who they go after. Yeah, it's become a thing. What Norvell has done with the portal, he's been an absolute trendsetter. What he's done with the roster and how he's went out and accomplished things. And without a doubt, and that's my contention, it'll be my contention. It continues to be my contention. And that's at Florida State, Mike Norvell is ahead of the curve. And he's ahead of the curve to the level that we can't even see it. I see it. Chris sees it. Jen sees it. James sees it. Our friends see it. We talk about it all the time. But the rest of the people in the country, for whatever reason, whether it's being spurned for 2 years of Willie Taggart and the first 2 years of Mike Norvell, whatever the case may be, they don't see it. It's here. This program's only going one direction. You could possibly lose a game or two this year. We're not saying we're perfect, going to be undefeated under this, that. But as far as talented, it's there. It's like Florida State finally has everything that they said we didn't. It's like we're finally there on the hoof. We're over 60% blue chip ratio. We have this, we have that. We've got the quarterback. We've got all these things. It's like they just got to find new things to pick. And to be fair, like I said, I'll say this again, not trying to hate on anybody. People have these shows. They have to fill time, and everybody has to have opinion. And somebody's got to be wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jen's wrong, and DJU is going to be terrible. But I think he'll be on the outside of Heisman conversations just for the fact of the offense he's in. And the competitor he is, and all the good things they said about him, and finally being in a situation where he can succeed. It's just what Mike Norvell does. He puts people in situations to succeed. I want people to go back and watch the film of what Brock Glenn did against Georgia. Go watch and look what a Tate Rodemaker did against the Louisville team a couple years ago coming off the bench. If you don't think Mike Norvell is going to be able to bring DJU in, a dude who's been through it all in college football, had all the pressure that comes with being a top recruit, literally done it all. If you don't think he's going to be able to get him in here and get 3,500 yards passing out of him and 30 touchdowns, I don't know what to tell you. You don't know anything about Mike Norvell. You don't know anything about what he's done with quarterbacks in his career. I mean, shit, really. People looked at me like I had 3 heads when I told them Jordan Travis would be a Heisman candidate on an average team. Like, if he had the legit talent around him, because he raised the level of other people. Like, I don't know what people see. I see it, and I see it all the time. And I get that I'm tunnel visioned on Florida State. It's what I study. It's what I'm talking to people on the phone about all day long, messaging people about. Like, so that's what I see. But it's just, I don't know. Tell me I'm not crazy, y'all, because we appreciate you, man.
Look, I don't think you're crazy. I think if you look at Brock in the Louisville game versus him in the Georgia game, and I know what the score was in the Georgia game, Miami fans, please do not get in the chat and do this because you're going to lose this. I'm telling you right now, don't do it. Not today. I'm saying when you saw him play that game in the Georgia game, to me, he played a good game. Like, I thought Brock Glenn, you just told a kid who's 18 years old, who went to prom in April of 2023, by the way, in Memphis, to go out and play the 2-time national championships of 2 years in a row with a full freaking team, and he had nobody. And that kid put it on his shoulders, and I will never criticize what he did. And honestly, he had some really good moments in that game. I'm not going to lie about it. He really honestly did. And I love Brock's swag. He's got that Memphis swag, guys. He's got the Memphis swag. That's it. That's Brock. I can't explain it, but honestly, I know the Louisville game was a better game for Florida State because they won, right? They won. But if you look at him in that Louisville game, because that was a last minute, right? So was the Georgia game. But he had been practicing, right? Could he have practiced more had the coaching staff known that a certain quarterback was going to leave before they got off the bus or got on the bus to go down to Georgia or to the Orange Bowl? Sure. I'm sure he could have practiced more with the ones. Maybe. Would that have been a better thing? Maybe. I'm not going in on another quarterback right now because it's pointless. He's stuck at Southern Miss. Who gives a shit? But what I will say is that Brock really showed that was a month of coaching. Not even really a month. It was a couple, like, when did the other quarterback decide he wasn't getting on? It was the day of, right? The coaching staff didn't know he was transferring until the day of, right? Until they were leaving. Yeah. So look at that change. Just look at that change. I know what the score was, Miami fans, and if you come at me, I swear to God, I will.
Who gives a shit about Miami fans?
I'm just saying, if they come in the chat, with the 63-3, I don't want to hear it. But if you look at the way he played, it was so different than the Louisville game. That kid's going to be good. I'm sorry.
So shout out to Carrie with the $10 or $9.99, or was it Corey? I mean, let me not get that wrong there. Yes, Carrie with the $9.99 super chat. She says, "Great job, guys. Thank you so much for the super chat." And yes, Luganville was the quarterback at Georgia Tech back in the day. We should pull his stats up and see what his stats were at Georgia Tech if he wants to talk about it. But no, ridiculous. I disagree. I lost what I was going to say there. Oh yeah. You've got to be able to separate quarterback play from what's attached to it, everything that's else going around, and that's what it's disappointing. It's just like, to go back to Cam Ward and all the turnovers. It's the whole reason why I feel like Cam Ward at Miami is a disaster waiting to happen, but Cam Ward at Florida State could have been a national title contender. Like, all those things matter. What's Cam's issue? What's his kind of thing that he has issue with? Turnovers. Ball handling. So you go to a Miami, it's just like he's going to be in a bad position. Yeah. He's going to be in a position to where, he's going to have to really be upon himself to not turn the ball over. We'll see how that goes. Okay. But it doesn't mean I'm going to compare him, like just come out and say he's this or he's that as far as different quarterbacks. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it's almost like quitting your job at AT&T and then going to work for Comcast so you can up your customer service. Like that's not going to help. It's not going to help you. Like going from where Cam Ward was with all his fumble issues to going to Miami is not going to help you. No, I mean, I'm just saying it's not going to help you. It's not going to make you a better player. I can promise. Honestly, I'm telling you, it's just not. So I don't think any of the coaching staff at Miami is going to help him. Like I said, it's like going from AT&T to Comcast to be like, I need to help my customer service because it ain't going to work. But that could just be me. I don't know. What do you think, George?
No, I agree. I agree 100%. It's it is what it is. I'm over it, but we had to talk about it. We had to cover it. And I had kind of lost my train of thought there. I thought there was, if you guys, again, if you have any questions, the number is up there. That's what's scrolling across the bottom of your screen. It's 850-495-1906. Oh, I remember. It was a text question that I had here. Somebody said, didn't lose. Okay, no, forget it.
That's a no on the question?
Yeah, it was something else. What's up, Fatal Jedi? What's up, man?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't understand the constant hate for, and I'm not, maybe it is us. Maybe we're looking at it through garnet glasses. I don't understand the constant hate for Florida State and what they're going to do. The fact that Miami is even ranked higher than Florida State right now is crazy. Tennessee being ranked higher is crazy. There's so many things going on that I just don't understand. But it's all it. Look, guys, this is the way it's always been. ESPN calls this crazy lunatic fringes. Okay, that's what we're called. But we're not wrong. Like we're just not wrong. It's on film. ESPN wanted to keep Florida State out before Jordan was hurt. This is on film. This is on film. This isn't us making it up. So, like, is there anybody? Can you name somebody at ESPN you like?
Ooh, that's tough. I couldn't tell you. They've changed so much, and I literally do not watch it now. That I kind of I have no idea I can't keep track. They're always laying people off left and right. But, all this in this conversation, we're an hour and 20 minutes in here. We might as well talk it a little bit. All this shit goes back to why Kevin Hicks and David Pollock is not at ESPN. He was fired from College Game Day. That's how Pat McAfee got on the crew. And now, obviously, Lee's probably done, and they're bringing in Nick Saban. And whoever else. Booger McFarland. That's my dude. We got to ride with Booger. He had our back. But it's just another reason why we got to get to the Big Ten and we got to get to Fox, because perception is realities to a certain extent. That's what's so great about college football. You can change perception by going out on the field and winning. Now, had Florida State been given a chance to play in the college football playoff, gone and done what they did, maybe win that thing, yada, yada, who knows? Maybe we're getting different looks in the polls. Maybe we're not coming in at 18 and 17 behind Miami, behind LSU, behind all these teams that we beat year in, year out. It's like we will get that respect. Here's the biggest issue, and I've talked about this a lot. I'd really love to debate somebody about it. I haven't had much luck getting those certain people who are really big on high school recruiting and believing it should stay the way it is on the show. But when you listen read a lot of the stuff from the 247 on 3 about recruiting. They really believe it's good the way it is, and that high school and transfer stuff is balanced fine. They'll tell you that all the first round picks are all still high school guys. Well, I'm here to tell you there's no data points. This is only the third, fourth year since we've had the portal with the 1-time, 2-time transfer. That stuff is going to change, but what it's going to take is going out there and winning the games. Michigan just won a national title, somewhat high school balanced with high school and portal. Go look at where Michigan's overall talent ranking is. I believe it's top 15, but it's nothing special. It's not over there with the Alabamas and the Ohio States. They just won the national championships. Washington, way off the page. They were just in the national championship. And that was the first year. Last year was the first year you have really been able to see these portal teams that have been adding and growing, like, kind of bow up. This year is going to be even more quintessential of a year. You're going to really see teams. You're going to see Norvell. The exits of the portal, the portal exits, those are really underrated. When you've got 15 to 20 guys exiting the portal every year and you're replacing it with 15 to 20 blue chips and guys you believe in, you're constantly, every single year, you're purging the bottom of the roster. Here's what happens going into year 5. There's nobody left on the roster that you just need to get out because they're a problem. You're getting guys off the bottom of the roster who's like, damn, these guys would have started 2 years ago. Man, this would have killed our we could have never. We brought Bless Harris in here 2 or 3 years ago, and he was immediately the starting tackle. Now he's I think he was the number 2 or number 3 rated offensive tackle in the entire portal. Florida's over here talking about, we take portal guys too. Y'all are talking, y'all got Richie Leonard, but we got 2 of the top 10 tackles in the portal to come to Florida. Yeah, you got 2 of the top 10 tackles, but who's ranked ahead of both of them? The dude who got bumped out of our depth chart and transferred so he could go start somewhere. So whatever. You look at Florida's talent, Miami's talent, so many teams. If you go look at that talent index, and it's miles ahead of Florida State. It looks like we're not even the competition. But you can't tell me those teams are more talented. You just cannot do it. I sit here, I know everybody that's on Florida State. Like, I do not know to that level who's on Florida and who's on Miami. But what I can do is I can look at what they came up with, their version of blue chips and this and that. And sure, they nudge us. Florida and Miami the past couple of years have nudged us, done a little bit better in high school recruiting. But when you look at retainment, when you look at who's pushed out of the bottom, and you look at who's brought into the portal, it's miles apart. There's no competition. It's Florida State, and it's not close. There's different teams, I think, year after year, that compete, but consistently year after year, it's Florida State when you average it out, the preeminent portal destination. And go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Yeah, I agree. I think the portal destination is Florida State. I don't, I just, I think the media right now is in such a weird place because they don't really know where to go with this. They're really trying to figure out, okay, Florida State's trying to get out of the ACC. They're messing with ESPN. We can't condone this because ESPN is such an overlord. So even some independent media is falling in line with ESPN. I get it. I really get it. You guys need money too. We all need money too. But I think this year for Florida State, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be a good year for Florida State. I think DJU, I think the receivers, I think the running backs, the defense is going to be a little different, I think. And I think we're going to enjoy it. I don't think we're going to have these cardiac meltdowns like we did last year.
Well, that's another thing that people don't talk about. The schedule lays out for this team to develop. You've got a decently tough game in Georgia Tech that you should be able to handle because you're preparing for it all year. So, yeah, Georgia Tech's a little tough, but then you get 2 winnable games in a bye. Then you get 2 or 3 winnable games in a bye, and you get some great teams at home. You get North Carolina at home. You got to go on the road to Miami, but that might as well, be a home game as far as they go. But yeah, these, he's going to go out there and he's going to do it on the field. That's all there is to it. Florida State, it's going to be exciting. Like Jen said, the defense is going to be different. When you talk about offense is a thing where blue chip ratio and stuff, as big as it is, it only it really matters that like offensive tackle and wide receiver, like you really got to have playmakers that turn it over to the top. But for the most part, offense, experience, a system, getting the right guys that fit in together, like you really can come together and do a lot more with less on offense, especially when you have a dude like Mike Norvell. So that talent jumping on offense is great. I think the offensive line is miles and miles better, but I don't think there's much controversy there. I think pretty much everybody agrees that the offensive line has been getting better and better. Nobody's going to argue with you that Florida State's best offensive line they've had in years is this year. Obviously, we just did all that arguing about DJU. So obviously, there's some people out there that don't think DJU is going to live up to what Jordan Travis provided in a production standpoint. And he doesn't have to, by the way. But I do think he does. I do think he does lives up to it and could possibly even be better just because of where the team is going. But what Jen mentioned before she took off for a second, the defense is going to look different. The defense, as opposed to what I just talked about with offense, defense, you got to have the dudes. You have to have the dudes on defense. It doesn't matter how good a coach you are. Doesn't matter how good you are at X and O's. You got to have studs. You got to have studs out there on defense because it's just how it is. Offenses are going to be able to scheme you up and get you one-on-one more times than not. So when they do that and they're able to beat you or able to tie you, whatever the case may be, and you have one-on-one, you've got to have defenders that can win. You've got to, the offender knows where he's going. The defenseman doesn't. The defensive back has no idea where the wide receiver is going to go except for his mechanics, his technique, reading hips, all these things, playing the ball. So in that, FSU's defensive blue chip ratio and the guys they are putting out there are at such a higher level this year than in the past. Like, it's just extremely, extremely underrated. People think that FSU's defensive line is going to take a huge leap backwards. Their front seven is going to take a huge leap backwards. But I strongly encourage you to go watch more Tomiwa Dorojaye film. I mean, you just got lost a guy in Braden Fisk who was an absolute monster inside. Tomiwa Dorojaye is more of a defensive end, but you're going to see him slid inside. You're going to see him playing three techniques sometimes. He's that dude. He played a ton of tackle for Oregon State last year. Here's the guy you can go, in the odd front with five guys. You can have Patrick Payton out here as a beast pass rusher next to Tomiwa Dorojaye, right next to two defensive tackles and Joshua Farmer, who's looking to just make an extremely explosive year, a guy who's just long and can just make plays in the backfield, right next to a Daryl Jackson, who's as good as a nose tackle as you want to get, right next to another defensive end. And Marvin Jones Jr., who we talked about the other day, the dude has put on 20 pounds since he's got to Florida State. I mean, I'm telling you right now, Marvin Jones Jr. is going to be a revelation. They say you'll never get another Jermaine Johnson. You're never going to do this again in 1 year. I'm not going to tell you he's Jermaine Johnson. That would be like acting like I'm some genius and I just know the future. But I'm here to tell you, the dude is going to be a stud defensive end. Whether it's for 1 year and he goes off to be a first-round pick, it might be 2 years, but you're talking about a first-round NFL talent. And if he does anything less than second round by the time he leaves Florida State, I'll be stunned. And the things I'm hearing back from what he's doing in tour duty and the athleticism he's showing and just his ability, it's next level. Just wait. But I'm telling you, Tomiwa Dorojaye, being able to play on the edge, play inside, play in those odd fronts, whether it's 3-man down or 5-men down, etc., stuff like that is going to be a lot of fun. X's and Knowles did a great breakdown on it. You go check those guys out. But yeah, I think DeMarcus Walker, when I look and I see Tomiwa Dorojaye, but you've always also got Siono Lolohea, who's kind of similar. Another big defensive end to go along with what you got in Marvin Jones, who's more, he's bigger than Patrick Payton, but he's more of a NASCAR, be on the line and rush. But what he's not going to do, he's not going to be covering wide receivers out of the backfield, running backs out of the backfield as much as he did for Georgia. Kind of like the same thing with Jermaine Johnson. Same thing for Daryl Jackson at Miami. Going into his second year at Florida State, he's not going to be leaving his defensive tackle position to cover wheel routes up the side of the field like they tried to have him do against Toafili, I believe, in 2022 it was against Miami. Yeah. I want to see these guys bring in a safety. Keon Saab ended up not being that guy, so we'll see if they bring in a safety. Want to see him bring in a couple linebackers. I love Sean Murphy. That's a guy we don't talk about. He's probably the most talented linebacker we've had in that room since Kalen DeLoach showed up. So, ton to be happy about, ton to be looking forward to. We're already at an hour and 35 minutes. We're getting kind of long in the tooth here. And talk about Randy. Somebody says he hopes he can close on these linebackers. Let me just say, Randy, I'm sorry, Randy Shannon. I was hard on you. I never went out on the line. I never said anything out of the way or was a dick, but I have been pretty hard, pretty critical on Randy Shannon, especially previous to the past couple months, and I've seen how things have gone. But I believe, and I've said this a lot, college football where it goes in waves. People are down, they come up, styles of play change. It's just certain things work for a while, certain things. We're into an era now, be it because of the portal, whatever the case may be, everything going on, continuity and development is a premium. And I saw somebody say it's going to turn into just pure free agency. Well, that's part of it. If you can get in college level players, if you can get a player who has a coach who's a shithead and isn't getting the most out of him, you can steal him and bring it over and make an all conference player, do these different things. If you can get lower level players and make them play at a higher level, like you do with a guy you bring from UCF, that's extremely important. And the recruiting comes. Like, it's either one or the other. Like, you talk about the chicken or the egg. Did you get a guy to come into your school and just be the baddest recruiter in the world? And that's how you started winning games and got better at coaching and became a program? Or you can become a great program and eventually recruit better and better guys. Now, that doesn't work at Kentucky. Mark Stoops can't do that because Mark Stoops has a ceiling. There's only so good he's going to be able to do at Kentucky. And Texas A&M, the same thing on the coaching front. It's such a clown show over there. Sure, you've got money and you do all this great recruiting, but in order to have a cohesive team, a coaching, all these things, booster department that works hand in hand and not talking about firing and doing all this crazy shit, it's hard. At Florida State, that's the difference. You've got a guy who came in, Mike Norvell, doing more with less, but he's at Florida State now. He's a playoff get in the game, folks. It's Florida State. It's the Seminoles. It's the program. It's Van Wilder. It's all this shit. It's Burt Reynolds. It's the longest yard. We talked about this shit the other day. Like, it's Florida State, guys. They're scared. It's a juggernaut. That's why ESPN, ACC, all this shit, there's a reason they don't want us out of there. Like, it's going to change all of college football. And as much like Darth Vader, it's like, we're like the evil team for whatever reason. People don't want to see a new money succeed in the same way people, I'm not going to throw names because, anyways, Florida State is the new blood. They're the new kid on the block. That's elite. It's like all of a sudden you have 4 down years and they act like you're going back to the woodshed. But no, I expect another 20, 30, 40-year run. And really, Mike Norvell, as long as nothing crazy happens, we have him for another 5, 6 years. You're looking at a dynasty in the making. All the pieces are there. And anybody who tells you he needs to get better at high school recruiting, I'll argue with him. We can debate because I don't think he needs to get better at a single thing. I think he needs to get better at everything, because that's just what you do. You get 1% better every day. But I think the path, the trajectory, his style, everything he's done down, especially to continuity, as we look around and all these coaches are just disappearing and flipping around. And they've got some of the most continuity, top 5, top 10, probably in the entire country. I'm talking on my ass, but I don't know. But I think Mike Norvell is going to be the next new coach to win a national championship. What do you think?
I mean, I hope so. I mean, I could see it. I definitely could see Mike winning one. I think it would depend on, college football allowing him to win one.
Right.
That's just my thoughts about that. But I do have one thing that we forgot to mention when we were talking about the Van Wilders. We were talking about the program, Varsity Blues. Guys, Shake Your Tail Feather has the Marching Chiefs in it. Okay. That song, Nelly, Murphy Lee, Diddy, that is, if you go to Wikipedia, has the Marching Chiefs in it. So, guys, look, Florida State's a national brand. You can either like it or not. You can listen to Shake Your Tail Feather like I do on game days because I love it. It's amazing. And it has the Marching Chiefs in it. Come on. So Yeah, that was my one thing. My next thing, I think I may have lost my train of thought on that. What were you asking me before I went on that spiel?
You
Sorry
got
about
me.
that.
I was in the comment section. I've done moved on. I'm sorry.
My
I wiped it
bad.
out.
I did
But
it. I did it. I went on 2 different points. Oh, I know what it was. Mike Norvell is going. Kevin Hickson in the chat.
oh yeah,
said
one of the
this,
first
and
ones to
I
win a national championship. Yeah.
Well, I 100% agree with him on this. There's not going to be any letting off the gas this year. I think Mike Norvell did that last year a little bit to his detriment. Maybe. I don't know. I think Florida State would have been left out, even if they didn't have close games with the losers of Boston College. And who else did they have close games with? Was it just Boston College?
Who, us?
Yeah.
Boston College was
Because
close.
he could have scored again at the end of Louisville, and he could have scored it again at the end of Florida. He did not do it. I
Yeah,
think.
basically the last 2 weeks. That's where the
Yeah.
criticism would come. The last 2 weeks of the year, when all there is left to do is win those games and get style points. But at the same time, you look at what happened to Miami against Georgia Tech. It's like you take a knee, you win the game. It's like you hate that it has to be that way, but no, I agree. He's going to be a villain. There's not going to be giving people breaks just to give them a break. It's going to be, and this comes back to the talent and the depth on the team. You've got an ability to rest people and not be so beat up and in such tough shape and desperate to win these single particular games. And especially when you go to a 12-team playoff, you can have a loss and you can still get in. Amori Smith, who's coming back, basically our entire offensive linemen are coming back. All of them are coming back. These guys, if they get hurt, you can sit them a game because you have enough talent behind them to put it up there. Your reserves are as good as your starters were in previous years. And I know where you're going with this. You're going to talk about, because of the Big Ten and the SEC and all that. But Florida State's going to the Big Ten. They're going to be the Big Ten in 2025. So
Yep.
24 is a one-off year. We'll have no problem this year. But no, like if we were going to be stuck in the ACC, I would agree with you. Yeah, you got to win every game. But, it's just a one-off year. That's definitely a fair point for this year, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think this year you're going to have to win every game. You could okay, wait a minute. Hang on.
You can lose a game, but you got to win the conference.
Yes, you have to win the conference, and there will only be one ACC team in this playoff this year, guys. I'm sorry. Unless Florida State wins it undefeated, Clemson is the one-loss team that didn't maybe make it to either the championship game. However this goes, that's the only way this happens. That's the only way you're getting to ACC teams in, guys. That's it. That's the only way. Nobody's allowing Florida State and Louisville. Nobody's allowing Florida State and Miami. Nobody's definitely allowing Florida State and Wake or who are the other bullshit teams? Boston College, Pitt. Nobody's doing that. It's going to be one ACC team. It's going to be guaranteed in a 12 team. And then you're going to have 5 SEC, 5 Big 10, 1 ACC, 1 Big 12, right?
If a Big 12 team even gets in. They lost Oklahoma and Texas.
But they're going to get in because they're going to win a conference.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The 5 highest conference champions.
Oh.
There's a world where the Sun Belt team could get in over, but with 5, I think you're right. I think at least one Big 12 will get in this year.
I think at the end of the day, it's going to be right. Yep. Brett Taylor has it absolutely correct. If Clemson it goes into Charlotte, if Clemson and Florida State play each other, one's undefeated, one's a 1 loss, whichever one. If Florida State wins, Clemson gets in. If Clemson wins, Florida State's out. Guarantee it. Y'all can tell me I'm wrong, but I promise you I'm not.
It's not.
I promise
I don't think
anybody.
If anybody argues with that, they don't know how football works. I mean, that's just. You're right.
Even though Florida State historically is way better than Clemson, makes more money than Clemson, has more eyeballs than Clemson, for some reason they respect a man who has his mother write his name in the back of his sweatshirt
It's just
So
about
he
the
can
conference.
run
I don't think
down
it
a
matters.
hill.
I mean, I don't have anything to do
No,
with that.
no. It has everything to do with who selects the teams that gets in. They give Dabo Swinney the benefit of the doubt, who clearly does not make any coaching decisions.
So what you're saying is if Florida State beats Clemson, they still get in, and 2 teams go.
No,
So
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if
Florida State wins, they get in. Clemson wins, they gets in. Where's the disrespect coming in?
No, both of them don't get in. If Florida State wins against Clemson, right?
They're in.
They're in.
Okay.
If they don't, Clemson's the only ACC team that gets in.
That's what you just said. If Florida State wins, they're in. If Clemson wins, they're in.
But if Clemson is ranked high enough, they will get in too.
But that's what I just said, and you said no. That's what I said. If Florida State beats Clemson, they'll still be in. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying the only way 2 teams get in as long as it's Florida
You're
State.
You're not comprehending what I'm saying. I'm saying the same exact thing you're saying, Jen.
Okay, cool.
If in the ACC championship, Clemson loses, they would still be in.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. That's the exact same thing I'm saying.
I guess maybe.
No, it's the exact same thing. Promise. Moving on.
I think they absolutely disvalue Florida State because they love Dabo for some weird reason, even though he's not really a coach. He's more of a CEO.
That is fair. That is fair. And they, you build up that legacy. They even got them above Miami in a lot of them, which I understand because I just can't never. I couldn't even just looking at it put Miami over Clemson, but Clemson lost to Miami, so it's gonna have to start knocking them down a peg. They're in their little lost decade. We'll see if they can bounce back, but not hitting the portal. I don't know. You have to be a crazy man to do the same thing over and over and over again. To think you're going to have a different result, Let's see here. No doubt, Drip Kings. Yeah.
Oh, go.
The same scenario. Yeah.
Yourself.
For sure.
You know what? I'm over this.
Don't react to the chat, Jen. Don't let that shit bother you. People are going to be shits. Guys, we are at an hour and 46 minutes. This thing has been a lot of fun. We went way farther than I thought we were ever going to go on this show. I thought we were going to drop off at about an hour and 15, hour and 20. But here we are. We're getting towards the end, though. So here's your last few minutes. We've got 3 minutes. We'll call it 3.5 minutes. Get your phone calls in. Get your texts in if you have any questions. Before we get out of here, make sure you are following Jen Santee on X at Jen Santee 1890. Make sure you're following me at Renegade Report 1 on X. And she watches all the crazy podcasts, so you don't have to. So we appreciate everybody joining us. Also, go join the FSU Renegade Report Facebook group. You can join that. You can also go to renegadereport.substack.com and join there. We put the audio only versions of this after the show, so you can get those as well. But that's about it, guys. I think I'm out, and I just can't wait for Tuesday to get billfarley.substack.com in here to talk about Project Osceola.
Cannot wait for that one. This is going to be a good one. And I'm so glad you checked your messages while you're on. I thought that would make you smile a little bit.
Heck yes.
Oh.
Boom.
Whatever. At least I made you some money.
I had a feeling that was coming. Guys.
If y'all could see my DMs and stuff, you could see why I would get a little sensitive sometimes with some things. You just have no
Kyle
idea.
Pickett comes in with the $100 super chat and says, "Sorry if your feelings are hurt." Kyle is this dude that shows up and drops big money. We really appreciate you. And look, you got to understand in these chats, what we're bombarded with, you couldn't even imagine what Jen gets. So it's hard to give people the benefit of the doubt. You just immediately go to being nasty. I will give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he was just trying to be mean, but you got to understand where we're coming from. And look, me and Jen, we go at it. We do this stuff. We get all, we have
Mhm.
misunderstandings. We talk shit, but it's all right for us to talk shit to each other because that's what we do. We talk several hours every day, but we gotta, keep it nice and fun. In the chat
Like,
section.
guys, like, I get asked, like, what to wear. I get asked how to wear my hair. I get asked how to speak. Like, it is a little strange sometimes. So you have to just understand that this can get a lot. And not that I don't mind it. I love being here. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely. AR Rouse says it gets spicy here every once in a while. We like it.
it.
And I saw
We
one
do.
good
We
question.
try.
I don't know. I guess. iFlick says Lamont Green Jr. Why is he not being talked about more? Is he in the program? Well, Lamont Green Jr., super excited about him. I actually have heard some good things, but just coming in, he was somebody that you knew was going to take some time in the program to let that body develop. He's got the genes there. He's got the height and stuff, and I think he's going to be a damn good player. He's got an opportunity to become a pretty damn good pass rusher for the program. So we'll just have to see. People's just expectations. This isn't Miami where a true freshman has to come in and play. People are allowed to develop. He redshirted last year. Yeah, he's good. Look to see him flash, get some playing time this year, and get even better for sure. What are we talking about, Miami?
I don't know. Will Super Mario's You beat the Gators in the swamp? No. I don't think I haven't moved off of it. I know some people have. I'm not moving off of it. I don't think they can get Cam Ward ready. I think Cam Ward is a great quarterback. I think he could learn the playbook. I think he could do everything he could do. But as long as those idiots are the coaches there, yeah, I'm gonna pick Florida.
Yeah, I've got really close to flipping this. It's like everything on paper, every single thing on paper is telling me to flip this, but I can't. I'm not going to flip it just because every year, and as bad as I thought Florida is, and I've seen them be terrible, when we've got to them and played them on the field, they have still had a level of imposing will and even a level of coaching and pride about what they do that, to me, when I watch Miami and us playing them, it's been a different level. So I see Florida manhandling Miami, but maybe I'll be wrong. But I just think that's where it ends up.
Final score prediction. Someone's asking me to say. I would say I'm gonna go 2017. I'm gonna go 2017, and I actually feel like that's actually a ridiculous score because I don't know that Miami scores 17, and I think it's actually being generous for Florida to score 20. But I'm just gonna go there. I'm gonna say 2017.
Yeah, that's a damn near impossible score to pick right now, not being able to see spring, what the quarterbacks are gonna look like. But yeah, I would say just this. But if you put the over under at 50, I'd take the under. Take the under on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Facts. See which one's gonna win 2 or 3 games. I agree. Yeah, Florida beat Tennessee, who had been back for all of 1 year. Yeah, that's
Are they back?
That's
Are they back?
Of 1 year.
Tennessee's back.
Yeah, of 1 year.
They're back though for 1 year. I didn't know they were back.
2 years ago when they had the good season. That's what he's talking shit about. They're not back.
Oh, when they did they have a good season? Weren't they still like in like they weren't in a playoff game? They're not back. No. Tennessee, look,
they're not back at all.
I can't do this. I really can't. I'm not in the mood. I'm really not in the mood. Look, Tennessee is back as much as Miami is back, which is nada.
Okay? He was talking shit about Miami. I agree. He agrees too.
Yeah, no. Like Tennessee is so not back. Tennessee is back less than Miami. Tennessee's last back was 1998 when they had to beat a third string quarterback of Florida State, right? So I'm so over this Tennessee bullshit. Like Tennessee is not bad. All they ever do every other year, they might win 10 games. They may sniff a co-conference title. They haven't won shit. They don't do anything. They lose everything. They play that ridiculous song and they stomp their feet and they act like they're big dogs. They pay players. The players transfer out after a year. I don't know what else to say about Tennessee. Yes,
Yeah,
they hired Bobby from the family. What's the name of the King of the Hill? Bobby King of the Hill is their head coach. Okay, and could he be a good head coach? Maybe, but as long as that crazy psycho ass fan base is running that school, I don't know what else to say. I don't have any coming off. I'm just gonna say something bad.
I'm with you. Hey, this is a good place to cut it off. We went like another whole 25 minutes after we said we were going to end it. You guys have been great. We love you guys. Thank you for all the super chats. They were amazing. And we will see you guys again. Tuesday is going to be a shitload of fun. We've got more rants coming. We've got some intelligent conversation. I'm going to have a ton of questions, for our guy Bill Farley over there at Substack. And we will see you guys Tuesday. We will get out of here with the theme song.
First off, fuck Bama in the roll tide. Fuck Tuscaloosa in every city that's close by. Bitch ass hillbilly redneck fans. Auburn almost caught y'all slacking like dress pants. Michigan trash, they ain't got a damn chance. Only Wolverine I respect is X-Man. Keen ass coach got exposed, still in plays. Damn right I'm bitter, y'all